Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about the women who are reshaping our world. Coming up, we head to Libya where we meet a candidate who's wanting to ensure women have a voice in drafting the country's new constitution. Also, the woman confronting religious extremists in Pakistan's Swat Valley. And an outcry over an American court ruling that overturns Utah's ban on polygamy. As Libya marks 3 years since the uprising began, voters have elected a body to write a new constitution. Now, there's much hope it will help move the North African country closer towards democracy. The results are expected to be announced at the end of the month. The committee will be made up of 60 people, and to ensure female representation, a quota of 10% has been reserved for women. Catherine Viette and Maureen Casales report on one candidate who wants to ensure her fellow women indeed have a voice.
Campaign banners adorn the streets of Tripoli. Tucked alongside the male candidates is Haweda Shabani's poster. She's hoping to be elected to the panel that will draft Libya's new constitution, and she's taken to the airwaves to get her message across.
The content is my view of the constitution, which is that Libya should be ruled by a civilian government which offers civil rights without exception and which respects the rule of law. We need to know that if the written constitution does not express the true will of the people, if it does not reflect their views, and if they have not participating in the drafting of it, then that document will be worthless.
A Tripoli native, the 43-year-old attorney spent a large part of last year crisscrossing the country, discussing constitutional concerns with her fellow Libyans.
We went to 35 cities and villages. And one of the topics we discussed was Sharia. 70% of people we spoke to want Sharia to be a source of legislation, and more precisely, they want it to be defined rather than a vague concept.
Out of the 60 seats up for grabs, just 6 are reserved for women. Haweda is competing with at least a dozen other candidates in her district alone. Her goal, if elected, to see women's rights represented in the new constitution.
A number of women have distanced themselves from some of the activities we have organized because they fear some of the things that are happening at the moment. There needs to be a clear language that the state will guarantee the involvement of women in the decision-making process. It must be made clear in the constitution. That is what will really ensure that women are involved in making decisions.
But voter apathy could impact this election. Only a third of those eligible to cast a ballot have registered.
And the Libyan cabinet has decreed that women raped during the uprising should be recognised as war victims. Pro-Gaddafi forces are alleged to have used rape as a weapon. The decree, which still needs congressional approval, will entitle rape victims to compensation.
First of all, and most importantly, it will recognise women as victims of war. They are now considered as a shame. This is not applicable to the war male heroes, blah, blah, blah. But for women, they are considered the weak. This is very important for Libya because we need to show ourselves first and the world that we protect the weak, not only the strong.
To Pakistan now, where the battle also continues to ensure women are being heard. In the Swat Valley, once a Taliban stronghold, women are making history by convening an all-female jurga. Now, a jurga is a forum for resolving disputes usually reserved for men, but not everybody is happy with the idea of women getting involved in the process, as our France 24 team found out.
Settling disputes in rural Pakistan has traditionally been a male-dominated affair. That was until Tabassum Adnan stepped in to create Pakistan's first female jurga in the Swat Valley. Often dismissed or discriminated against by the police and the male jurgas, women now turn to Adnan when they're in trouble. Today, she has to settle a water dispute.
Water is a basic right for everyone. No one can have a monopoly over it.
What she's doing is inhuman. Someone needs to tell her this.
So tomorrow we'll gather here, and all of us will go together to ask her to share the water well with everyone.
Women also seek Tabassum Adnan's help for more serious cases like honor killings. In 2012, 16-year-old Tahira was killed after her in-laws threw acid on her. The police were reluctant to act against the attackers who belonged to an influential family. Adnan stepped in with a video testimony taped before Tahira's death and made sure the police opened an investigation. Though Tahira's husband and in-laws were acquitted, having a trial was a victory in itself.
She helped us a lot. She pressured the police. We had no one else helping us. She was the only one.
Adnan's work has often landed her in trouble, especially with conservative Islamists. Until 2009, the valley was under Taliban rule. They enforced very strict laws and publicly punished women accused of immoral behavior. Today, the Pakistani army controls the valley, but religious fundamentalists are still powerful and dangerous.
The Taliban can attack me, or religious clerics. Even ordinary men from my own community might come after me. At times, I'm even scared of the men who are close to me.
Despite the threats, Adnan's efforts are slowly paying off. For the first time, she has been invited by the grand male jurga to settle a divorce initiated by the wife.
Do these belong to you? Do you recognize them?
Yes.
Okay, so in front of all these witnesses, I'm giving them back to you.
For Adnan, being invited is a great achievement.
I'm really happy. It's what I wanted. That women be represented and defended by other women. And I want to tell all women out there that if I can do this, they can too.
Though she has managed to change some men's minds, many are still opposed to giving women any say in these matters.
Women cannot leave the house, so how can they solve anyone's problems?
Why can't the women get out?
Because it's dangerous for them. It's a security risk.
In a male-dominated society like Pakistan, Tabassum Adnan's fight for gender equality is an uphill battle. In 2013 alone, there were more than 1,000 honor killings in the country. So far, no one has been punished for these crimes.
And Pakistani poet and writer Fatima Bhutto was in Paris recently. A member of the Bhutto political dynasty, she explained to us that it's not just the influence of the Taliban in the country that women have to worry about.
People seem to worry very much about the Taliban when it comes to women, but what they don't look at is that the Pakistani state, since 1979, has had federal laws that criminalize victims of rape, that would put a woman to death for adultery or engaging in sexual relations outside of marriage. Under the Pakistani Penal Code, women are the only convicts who can still be whipped publicly. So before we worry about the Taliban, I think we need to worry very seriously about what the so-called democratic state in Pakistan has done and continues to do in regards to its approach to women.
And finally, polygamy in the American state of Utah has provided much material for Hollywood scriptwriters and directors of reality television. But now a federal court ruling has overturned the state's ban on the practice. The decision has been warmly welcomed by polygamists, but those against say plural marriages are inherently unequal, more likely to lead to poverty and abuse. William Edwards from Agence France-Presse has more.
Sometimes it's good to have a big family, especially when your car needs a push getting out of the snow. In all, there are 25 children in the Daga family. They're looked after by one father who lives with their 3 mothers. Cousins Alina and Vicky were the first to marry their husband Joe back in 1990. A few years later, Vicky's twin sister Valerie joined them.
It's like I'm falling in love with this man and, you know, having this newfound love, but also having a little bit of envy over their history and the depth of their relationship that I just couldn't have right then, you know. On the other hand, it was just a large and loving family welcoming me in.
While they've been public about their lifestyle for some time, they've always worried that Joe could face arrest under the state's anti-polygamy laws. But in December, that became less likely. A federal judge ruled that a law banning unlawful cohabitation goes against the right to freedom of religion. While the main branch of the Mormon faith banned polygamy in the 1890s, the Dargas are members of one of the offshoots that continue the practice.
As long as it's adults freely choosing what they want, then I don't feel like it would be my place to tell somebody else you can't choose to love who you love.
I think you're going to start seeing more people like us become more public. I've had many of our friends and relatives that have said, you know, I could just tell people at work who I am now.
What the Dargas see as unwarranted government intrusion, others see as essential for the protection of women and children. Marion Munn moved to Utah from her native Britain and was part of a polygamous relationship for 18 years. She now argues that such marriages are inherently unequal and often aren't entered into freely.
Certainly within Mormon-based polygamy, it's not really much of a choice because Mormon scriptures teach a woman that if she doesn't consent to living polygamy, God's going to destroy her. So for me going into it, I didn't personally want to live it, but I felt compelled to, you know, as a matter of faith.
Supporters of polygamy have tried to link their cause to that of gay marriage, which has seen growing support in the US. However, while it appears to work for the Dargas, studies have found that polygamy tends to be linked to higher levels of crime, poverty and gender inequality. Utah's Attorney General has yet to say whether he'll challenge the recent ruling, a decision that will affect whether the next generation will be able to carry on their family's tradition.
And that's it for now. If you'd like to comment on what you've just seen, please head to our Facebook page, FranceVanCap/the51%, or do send us a tweet at _51%. Thanks for your feedback so far and do keep those comments coming in. Until our next edition, bye for now.